I'm a guy that makes a lot of YouTube videos about guitar pedals, and if you clicked on this, there's a good chance that you're a person that watches a lot of YouTube videos about pedals, and if so, we can probably agree that there's one type of effect above all others. One effect that we all return to again and again throughout our lives, and that effect is overdrive. But in my opinion, overdrive is so inescapable that it's no longer good enough to have an overdrive that sounds good. You also need an overdrive that is surprising again. So in this video, I'm going to show you 5 pro tips for getting an overdrive sound that is not only great, but also unusual. For pro tip number 1, we're going to look at the Badder Monkey from DOD. This is a recently updated version of the Badder Monkey overdrive. This one has 3 different overdrive circuits in it that you can choose from. But if you want to, you can pick any 2 of them and have them destructively interfere with each other. The basic idea here is if you have a sound and then you make an exact copy of the sound and then you invert the copy and combine that with the original, they'll cancel each other out and the result should be silence. But if the 2 sounds are not identical, for instance, because they were produced by 2 different overdrive circuits, they won't cancel out completely. So what you'll end up hearing is everything that was left over from this partial cancellation. What you're going to hear me do now is loop a guitar riff and send it through this pedal and then sweep through all the different shades of destructive interference. And I'm going to pick my 2 favorites. Okay, now what I'm going to do is double track myself using the 2 favorite spots on that knob. Each of these sounds by itself is a little weird and incomplete, but if you join them together, they'll add detail to each other in a way that is more interesting than a conventional overdrive. By the way, if you want to buy any of the gear in this video, I have affiliate links you can use that'll give me a small commission on anything you purchase. I'll put the affiliate links in the video description. Money! The Badder Monkey is the only pedal in this video that is actually an overdrive. Everything else I talk about is a pedal that is not marketed as an overdrive, but which can be forced to behave like an overdrive if you find the right angle on it. And even if you don't have these pedals, there's probably some way to use these techniques to coax overdrive sounds out of the pedals you do have. At any rate, for pro tip number 2, I want to talk about the bathing from Old Blood Noise Endeavors. This is described as a delay reverb effect that has some phasing in it, but we're going to ignore all that. I found a setting in it that makes the whatever delay reverb stuff it's doing completely imperceptible and also immobilizes the phasing. So you don't hear any modulation. It's just the sort of stationary phased out sound that has some like weird notches and peaks in it. That kind of stuck phase is really just a different way of playing the destructive interference game from pro tip number 1. But since it's a different way of doing it, it has its own character and it has its own vibe. What you're about to hear me play is just me using this pedal as an overdrive into my amp. And my amp is the Strymon Iridium. That's it. That's the entire guitar sound. But this time I double-tracked myself using 2 slightly different positions on the filter knob, and that's how I created some asymmetry across the stereo image, which is always going to be more interesting than the exact same thing twice. For pro tip number 3, I want to talk about the Randy's Revenge from Fairfield Circuitry. This is a ring modulator. Now, if you've watched my channel before, you may have heard me say that when it comes to the wet-dry mix knob on pedals, I think that anything less than 100% wet is weakness. And I try to live by that, but one exception to it that I'm prepared to make is for ring modulators. I think you can set the mix knob on a ring modulator to something less than 100%, a position I would normally consider cowardly, but on a ring modulator, I don't think it necessarily counts as cowardly. The reason is that this ring modulator in particular has a volume knob on it that can really goose an amp pretty good. And so if you use that as your boost and then you just bring in a little bit of ring mod weirdness, the weirdness can sort of take the place of the mid boost on a conventional overdrive. Most normal overdrives are giving you some kind of extra on your mid frequencies, but one way to think about this pedal is that it's an overdrive that is giving you that little mid extra in the form of ring modulated bullshit. Any pedal, really any piece of audio gear can start to break up or can start to sound overdriven if you just send more volume into it than it's prepared to handle. Now, I don't want you to start destroying your own pedals messing around with this, but the idea is that if you have some way of cleanly increasing the volume of your signal, like a clean boost, or even if you just have like the Boss graphic equalizer and you leave everything flat, but you increase the volume as far as it'll go, if you run that into whatever pedals you have lying around, some of them will start to behave like an overdrive because they're just getting zapped by all that level. What you're about to hear is one of my own personal favorite discoveries I've made from messing around with this. The level increase I'm getting is from the JFET boost from 29 pedals, and I'm running this into the instant lo-fi Junkie from ZVEX pedals, and I have this set to be completely on the compression side. This is what the lo-fi Junkie sounds like normally. And this is what it sounds like when it's getting nuked by the 29 pedals boost. This is one of those guitar sounds that if you listen to it in the context of a mix, it has a snappiness to it and a punch to it that can be more effective than a huge amount of distortion. In pro tip number 4, I talked about a pedal called the Lo-Fi Junkie, set to act as a compressor. Now, lo-fi compression is a thing, but I actually don't think we got there yet in pro tip number 4. I think it sounded cool, but I don't think we got all the way into what a lo-fi compressor can sound like in pro tip number 4. It's possible that my taste is so fucked up that I don't really consider things to be lo-fi unless they're like truly debased. But anyway, that's what we're doing now, because in pro tip number 5, I want to talk about the Accountant from Fairfield Circuitry. This is a compressor, and if you put it on its most extreme settings, it'll start to give you this very unusual, grainy breakup sound that I love and that I think very few pedals really produce at the level I crave. But the Accountant can do it, and this is what it sounds like.